Hi, welcome back to the Chamber of Spoilers. Today we're going to be talking about Disney Channel original sitcoms, which were kind of a big deal back in the day. I don't know if the kids still watch them now, but I was a huge fan. I love them very much, and looking back on it, I know that they were somewhat of questionable quality, so I want to see what holds up in my head and what we all know was a dumpster fire. So we're going to start ranking the tiers. In S tier, we have Alex Russo, Queen of My Heart, absolute goddess. So she is the S tier. I know she's a flawed character, but she's really unique and special, and I want her to know that I love her. The Mouse Approves, which basically is the tier that just means, yeah, right, it's okay, we're not mad at you. Mickey is fine. Why Are They Dressed Like That? Which is the tier, obviously, that reflects the reality that Disney Channel original shows dressed the children like they were going to the club in 1962 every day. So I wanted to have a tier that brought up this reality, which never made any sense to me personally. I Wish You Hadn't, the tier that shows us that not everything was necessary, but you did it anyway, and we're disappointed in you. And Walt's Frozen Corpse. Essentially, Walt Disney's head is frozen somewhere, cryogenically, and wherever it is, it's rolling around in its cooler, upset that you made this. So we're going to start with The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, which I actually really enjoyed. I think it's a little less developed in its sequel, especially because the kids are child actors, and we all are aware of the limitations of child actors. I really enjoyed the premise. A lot of these shows are about somebodies, people who are famous or rich or both, or people who desire to be somebodies. But this show's just kind of about normal people. Like Mosby is a hotel manager. The kids live in a hotel with their mom. Like, the only famous or rich person on the show is London Tipton, who's delightful, and also, like, kind of a satire of all of those, like, heir types, like, all those rich people. I get kind of exhausted watching, like, TV about people who I will never be. Like, I want to watch TV about normal people sometimes. Sometimes you want escapism. Sometimes you just want to watch a frustrated single mother experience having twin sons. So, that's one of the reasons I love it. And also just because Maddie is on it, and I love Maddie. I love Brenda Song, who plays London, who I think is vastly underappreciated as the heart of the show. Her and Mosby's relationship is my favorite thing. I love it so much. Next, after this, we're going to be tackling The Sweet Life on Deck, just because, sequential shows. I think despite having the sequel energy, Sweet Life on Deck is actually better than Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, just because it kind of tackles a lot of the more interesting teen topics, falling in love for the first time, being away from home. And I really love how it develops Mr. Mosby further as a character, London further as a character. And I found Bailey to be enchanting in her own way, although she is very much like the wide-eyed Disney ingenue, which is a pretty, like, typecast role at this point, not all that interesting. I think she brought a certain amount of joy to it, and I liked her friendship with London. I really enjoyed just seeing them in a new setting and just the doors that it opened. Obviously, it had its drawbacks. We all remember Woody, the worst character ever. Obviously, Wizard of Waverly Place goes in the Alex Russo tier. I really just enjoyed the show as a whole. It was great, like, pretty much solidly all the way through. There are not a lot of big, beefy, bad parts in this show. I think they did a really wonderful job. And what I think is so special about it is that the acting is great, and they never really exhaust possibilities. There's always world building to do. And they didn't seriously screw anything up. They didn't, build such a complicated world that it made it difficult for them to keep track of. I like the idea of the family wizard. I think it was just a really good overall show, like a pretty solid show. And it had some really great guest stars on it. So I really love the show. I love Alex Russo. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Next, Sunny with a Chance, which I'm going to put in solidly. Why Are They Dressed Like... No, it's going to be in The Mouse Approves. I like this show. I do think that it had a lot of Why Are They Dressed Like That moments, but for the most part, The Mouse does approve of this show. I think that Demi Lovato is pretty solidly charming, and they had a really good cast for the show. There wasn't any, like, clunky bad casting, and because of the setting, they had a lot of fun to work with. So I think overall, this show is an A. Like, they did a great job. It's not worthy of Alex Russo, but it's a pretty decent show. And I love really niche comedy jokes. I think they did a good job. Next, Good Luck Charlie. This is pretty solidly an I Wish You Hadn't territory. They're just trying to do like a Brady Bunch ripoff to give, I believe, the female lead her own vehicle. And she is, a pretty solidly boring Disney Channel original show lead lady. Like, she's not really interesting. None of the characters are all that interesting. The parents are stupid and not all that developed. Boring show. Shake It Up goes solidly in the Why Are They Dressed Like That tier. I think you all know why if you watched it. I think the two female leads are very talented, but I could not get past a lot of the inconsistencies. There's no way that a television show hires middle schoolers to dance. It's not a thing that happens. And I think in general, it just kind of was an underdeveloped concept. I think everybody who was involved in the show is doing very well now, so I'm not worried about ranking it the Why Are They Dressed Like That level. But the Why Are They Dressed Like That was really strong with this one. Like, you'd be impressed if you went back and watched it now, how many sequins are involved in the making of this television show. Next, Emperor's New School, which is actually going to go in the Mouse Approves. I'm surprised by how many shows I like. I was expecting there to be less of them, even though I made this tier ranking. But The Emperor's New School is super great. I love that show. I watched it like every Sunday morning. A lot of Disney movies that get made into Disney Channel shows are not great, but this one was pure gold. I think one of the reasons this one works is because it really translates so well, because it's already such a like slapstick, silly cartoon that it translates really well to the small screen. Next, we have Hannah Montana, which I don't think necessarily is a bad idea for a television show, but a lot about it rubs me the wrong way. The writing is about what you'd expect from a Disney Channel original show, but it's not a good one. I just don't think it's a very imaginative or well-written show, and also, like, the whole idea of like having a normal life while enjoying being a pop star, like having your cake and eating it too, the best of both worlds. I like it in theory, but all the problems in the show basically are because she has this secret identity, and then at the end she's just like, I've had enough of this. Like, and the movie, the continuity is just garbage trash. I really just don't like this show, and I think that if Walt Disney's corpse heard about it, it would be very upset. Jonas, we all know the sins of Jonas. I think the problems with it were basically the same problems that a lot of shows have when they're like, okay, we have this very popular property, we can build a television show around it and make lots of money. But the problem is that, like, that's basically as far as they got. The pitch is the Jonas Brothers for TV. And it's just not a really cogent pitch. It doesn't work. I watched a couple episodes. I think I watched the first season, and then after that I was like, I'm out. In order for a television show about a specific property to be successful, you have to not be interested in the property, but then want to watch the show because the show is good. And it wasn't. I don't fault any of the guys. They all seem to be doing fairly well, but it just sticks out to me as one of the weaker offerings in this. Next is Jessie, which I believe was built as a starring vehicle for Debbie Ryan of The Sweet Life on Deck. And that's going to go pretty solidly, and I wish you hadn't. It's so boring. Debbie Ryan really is just the wide-eyed Disney ingenue writ large, and I'm not that interested in her character in this. I maybe watched a season, and I really just don't think putting a couple quirky personalities together is a show. You've got to have something there, and it just doesn't work. I also feel like if they wanted to give Debbie Ryan a starring vehicle, they could have just spun her off into her own show where she's, doing entertaining stuff in college while being a nanny at the same time. That could have worked. But I think she just wasn't distinct from her other character, and it wasn't that interesting, and it wasn't that good. I just found it to be pretty soulless, honestly. Next, we're going to go to Phineas and Ferb, which obviously belongs in the Alex Russo tier. Maybe it belonged in a tier above her. It's such a good show. Phineas and Ferb is a Disney classic, and I believe we'll probably outlive all of these shows. It's such a wonderful program, and I love it so much. Phil of the Future, I love this show. It goes in the Mouse Approves. One of the reasons I loved it growing up was because the main guy, Ricky Ullman, is Jewish, and I was just like, yes, thank you very much. But it's also just really fun to have like sci-fi sitcoms, which are less common. Most sci-fi shows are long dramas, and there aren't a lot of those made for kids, or there weren't when I was young. So I was a real fan of it. I, of course, shipped Keely and Phil. Everyone did. It was just a really fun, interesting show, and I was a big fan. Anyway, that's all of them ranked. In the Alex Russo tier, we have obviously Wizards of Waverly Place and Phineas and Ferb. In the Mouse Approves, both Sweet Lives, Sunny with a Chance, Emperor's New School, and Phil of the Future. In Why Are They Dressed Like That, we have Shake It Up. In I Wish You Hadn't, we've got Good Luck Charlie and Jessie. And in Walt's Frozen Corpse, we have Hannah Montana and the Jonas Brothers. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you want to. Bye!